Hello! Hello, coders. Sorry, that was really cut off. Sorry about that. I was fiddling around with the laptop whilst this was going, and I was like, it's going to end, it's going to end, it's going to end, the intro is going to end, and then I got in there too quick. Could never be a DJ, could I? How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's had a good weekend. Good weekend. I have the door open because I'm looking after Murphy, so I may have to pop in and out to cheer him up, and also he might be coming into here. We are going to be reading from the TDD Companion, today, and we're going to be working through that as I progress. And what are we doing today? We are building the AWS Lambda functionality, or the functionality that triggers the AWS function that deploys the beta website of the How to Code Well website. That's what we're going to do. And what I'll show you is I will show you the beta website first, then I'll show you the Python Lambda function that I've created. We'll make some tweaks to that and I'll push it up to AWS. And then what I want to do is move on to the back end of the How to Code Well, the CMS, which is headless CMS. It's written in Symfony and PHP, obviously. And basically I want to have a publication page, and that page in the CMS will have a big red button on it that when clicked will fire off this Lambda function, which will then deploy the front end of the website, because the website is in it's a static site. It's in Gatsby, as we all know. That's something that we've been building, and this static site obviously can only be deployed at the moment when a change has been merged to a specific branch, to the beta branch, for instance. That's all well and good and it works, that's fine, but what I need is some way of actually forcing a deployment through when content is changed in the CMS. Usually this is done via a webhook. So you would create a webhook in AWS Amplify, and then you would fire off that webhook, and it would do a deployment or start a job or what have you. But what I want to do is actually build a pipeline, eventually build a deployment pipeline, because I want various different things happening. And so what I've done is I've created a Lambda script in Python that does that. So first up, let's actually just show you the front end. That would be a wise start, wouldn't it? So let's go to beta .how to code well. That was weird. I just saw my blind move. Bear with me a minute. If I not shut this window, give me a second. This is the website. Woo! I'm just gonna have to go behind the laptop. Bear with me a minute. No, that's fine. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is the front end. It's a static site. It's in Gatsby, right? It's in Gatsby. Gatsby.js. These are some of the courses that I've created. If I clicked on View All, for instance, you'll see the rest of them populate. And this is all well and good, and it fires off whenever a merge of this website goes into the beta branch. But we of course have staging CMS hyphen no, it's the other way around. Sorry, I work on so many different projects where they have different starts and ends of domains. Let me just log in for a second. Bear with me a sec. Took that off stream as I'm fiddling around with usernames and passwords. That's one of the tricky parts of this project. It's because there's so many things that I need to log into. So for instance, there's a screen that is off stream at the moment that has my AWS console loaded, because that's how I can see whether or not. Can I put that back into? Is there a way I can actually drag this Chrome window into there? That would be good. Oh, there we go. Done. All right. So if I go to, this is on staging. This is a staging site, and if I go to courses, these are all the courses that we're seeing here, right? So for example, if I was to change, let's say I wanted to change one of the titles. Hey, Eddie Ability, thank you for joining today. Hope you're having a good weekend. This here is the course. This is PHP Array. This would be, say, this one here, PHP Array. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to change the title of this. If I clicked on here, if I wanted to change the title of that, for instance, or if I wanted to add a tutorial here, what I would do is I would obviously go into the CMS and I would say, I don't know, let's just put in an exclamation mark, for instance, and then hit update. So that would update the entity or the database, but of course it doesn't actually trigger a change to the front end. So if I hit update on here, for instance, it says it was. Whoops, let me sort that out. This is something is, I've just foolishly I updated PyCharm just before the stream. I shouldn't have done that because it's now asking me for all sorts of credentials. Right, so what was I saying? Oh yes, so if I change the CMS, change something in the CMS, like I've put an exclamation mark in there, it's not going to be reflected on the front end, obviously, because the front end needs to be redeployed. But I haven't actually made a change to the code of the front end being in Gatsby, so I need to trigger that to happen. And of course, there's, you could, I guess, on create routines and update routines, I could fire off that webhook to AWS to say, yes, please, can you deploy this? But what I think I would prefer to have, excuse me, is like a publication section on this CMS. I click on there, and it would just have a big button that says publish. The reason being is because I think in the future, what I would like to have is some form of record of what has changed, and therefore on the publication page, I would have a change log of things that are changed. And we not only do we have the beta site, but we also have the staging site as well. So I would like to have, eventually, we're not talking now, but eventually I would like, the first publication must always go to staging, and then you verify that, and then it goes off to beta. So I would like to have a step in between, which is why I don't want everything just, small little changes I don't want to just suddenly go off to the front end. I want to be able to verify that I haven't actually broken anything. So that's what we're going to do. Now, as I mentioned in Python, I created, so this is PHP and blah, 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 and Gatsby, yada, yada, yada. But what I did yesterday is I created this little Python Lambda amplify build. It's a very small, straightforward Lambda function. If I open this up, this is what it is. Let's get rid of that for a minute. Let's bring it into its entirety so you can see everything. So it's using import Boto3 or Botta. Is that how you pronounce it? Botta3. Then OS. We're also dealing with some .env files. I'll talk about those in a second. We create the Lambda handler. And essentially what this is doing is it's pulling down some environment variables from the profile, which are the profile app ID and branch name. That window is going to bug me. Just a little bit of a breeze coming in, which isn't so bad. I'll tell you what, the last few weeks have been proper scorchers, so it's not that bad. I can just see the blinds move in the provisional field of view, if that makes sense. Anyway, what was I saying? All right, so then it's checking if the profile is default. Now the reason why I've done this is because I have various different AWS profiles on this machine and also on the laptop for various not only for my stuff, but other people's stuff as well. And obviously on AWS there's only one when this is hosted on AWS, there's only one profile, and that is the profile that you're currently using, i.e. the default profile. So if it's not the default profile, then it gets the profile name based on the environment variable that you've passed. And it loads the client based on the particular session. That was a tricky thing to sort of get my head around. If it is the default profile, which usually will be, then it just gets the client straight from Botter 3, and we're using the amplify. And this piece of lovely logic here is the start job routine. It takes the app ID that is in this environment variable, takes the branch name which is in this environment variable, and the job type which is release. I think there's a couple of job types that you can pass, like retry and all of that stuff. We only want to do release. Now there's many more arguments that I could pass in here, but I just wanted to leave this on screen just for a few minutes whilst I have a sip of my tea, so we can just soak in the goodness of named arguments. This is the biggest thing, I think, apart from multiple inheritance, but this is probably the most common thing that I miss in PHP, soon to be in PHP, named arguments. Hello, Tyrannid. Thank you for joining today. Hope you're having a good weekend. And then, of course, it returns JSON. So this is just a dictionary. It returns, and it returns the job summary status. And then I can run this locally if I want to. And if I ran this Python script locally, then obviously it checks the name here. We don't actually need to pass in anything here, but I've just put this in just in case I need to in the future. And then, yeah, it just runs the event handler. Now, I've got some funky things going on with, let's say, if I go into the project here. So I've created a make file as well. Let's load that up. So I've got a couple of things. Run will run this locally. Publish will publish it against the How to Code Well profile, but this one up here is pretty cool. We have build old. Build old I probably can remove, to be honest. That was my first attempt. What this does is it zips up everything in my virtual environment in site packages, which is lib Python 3.7, and then site packages. These are all the dependencies for all of this. It zips them up. It excludes the PyCache, which is a cached part. I think it's for PyCharm. I think. Anyway, and then it uses, and then it goes back a couple of levels back to the dist folder, which is this one here. It then zips all of that up into there. It then goes back a couple of levels back, and then it zips up, or it includes the zip of the Lambda function. This one. Once that's done, we'll have a function.zip file in here, which is ignored. And then once that's done, we then run publish, which will then do an AWS Lambda update function. The function name is called portal deploy. And then we say that this here is the zip file, which is in dist, and then function.zip, which is up in there. Yeah. And then I go onto the AWS console, and then I press test, and there you go. So we've made there's been a couple of changes I made today on this, and I also want to get rid of this one as well. So I just want to get rid of that. And we're going to make a change here. So removing old build script. Okay. I also made a change earlier because I built this on my laptop yesterday, late last night. Not late last night. It was actually in the afternoon yesterday. And what I did on my laptop, which is slightly different to what's on here, is in the requirements.txt. What I did include last time on the laptop is all the sub requirements, which consequently broke this machine I'm working on at the moment. You don't need all of those. All I need is Boto 3 and the python.env. All right, so what I'm going to attempt to do is run the build, then I'm going to run the publish, and then I'm going to, not locally, I'm going to do a run from AWS itself. I'm going to test that out, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, as a bit of a smoke test, we should see that change that I did earlier, which was change that to have an exclamation mark. This is PHP array. That's the course that we're looking at here. So technically speaking, if I can get all of that running and refresh this page after the build is done, then we should be good. I can already see some issues with the actual UI, which is there's a couple more things that we do need to sort out with that, which I will be getting back to. But the deployment side of this is actually incredibly important. So I wanted to take some time today just to fiddle around with it. Okay, so right, what do we do first? We go back to Patron, and then we go into my terminal. And we run those make commands. So we're going to run make build. So if we did make build here, so that now will go and build a dist folder full of all of these great Python packages. So we now should have a functions.dist in here, functions.zip, sorry, which we do, which is great. So now I'm going to run publish. So we'll do make publish. Now this is going to push it up to publish. There we go. This is going to push it up to AWS. So it might take a wee bit of time to do this. He says as the terminal doesn't give any feedback. Come on, you know you want to. It's not that much of a file. It's not that big. It's not that big at all. How big is it? Let's have a look whilst this is doing its thing. Where are we? It would be Python. And we'll do du. Tell I've been working on Magento stuff. And it is in dist. Okay, that's gone up. Woohoo! Woo woo! Okay, sweet. Okay, that's gone up. Marvelous. I just want to see what the size of that was. Functions. Zip is 9.8 meg. So that whole thing, including the dists, is 9.8 meg. So I'm gonna do something off stream now. I'm in my AWS console. If I go over to... I had a big problem earlier. I was doing this on the laptop this morning. I keep getting my times wrong. Not this morning, last night. I was doing it last night whilst I was watching a film, just because I wanted to try it. And I totally forgot which region I should have been in. So I was pushing things up to different regions. Okay, whilst that goes through, I'm just going to take a look at... I'm in the AWS console off stream, and I'm going to go to... Let me think. I guess I need to go to Lambda, right? Duh. Okay, we can see that was modified 1 minute ago, or at least I can see it. So I can now... Again, the test for this to work is to ensure that PHP array has an exclamation mark here, right? So now what I'm going to do is run this. So there's a test function here, so I'm going to hit test. Okay, and then it's spinning, and we've got a execution succeeded. The status is pending, which means that if I go in the AWS console here, not that you can see this, but I'll talk it through. If we go to the AWS Amplify section here, we should see that it is going through, yeah, that one. Yeah, it's going through a provisional stage. I need some tea. I haven't had enough tea today. Tell you what, we went for a nice walk earlier with Murphy, who is absolutely shattered out now. He's so tired. We found a nice little sort of where I live. There's a load of like these beacons. We are in the countryside, so there's these beacons that get set fire to once in a sometimes. So they're these huge sort of what would you call them? Anyway, they're usually up hills. So we found this massive hill. It's like a hill on a hill on a hill. Took ages. It took about an hour to get up. We found this one part, which was usually last time we went there was like knee-high grass, which Murphy loved because he was like running through the grass. We didn't particularly like because we couldn't always see him. But they've since cut that grass, which is amazing. So we ended up going up the side of part of this hill, and then launching with the ball thrower down the hill, and he was just doing hill sprints. He is so unbelievably fit. Okay, provision has been ticked off. We're now in build. So these things do take a bit of time. What's happening, you see, is it's actually making an API request, or several API requests back to the API, which is another part of this headless CMS. Whilst this is going, I think what I'll do is I'll read the first page today of this, or the first page that I'll read today is page 8. This is the TDD Companion, a book that I'm reading. Every page in this book is a section about TDD, and it's changing the way I think and think about TDD. So what are we on? Page 8? Yeah, page 8. TDD improves the developer-tester relationship. Whoops. So, here we go. In many large organizations, there is a kind of wall between development and testing. This can create negative attitudes on both sides. Developers see testers either as a source of no information, as in, it works, yeah, we knew that, or bad news. There are bugs to find and fix. Testers are adversaries to overcome before developers can be said to have succeeded. Okay, a bit like bosses in a game, I suppose. Boss level. Okay. On the other hand, testers see developers as a source of hard work and code that must be wrestled with. Often testing lags hopelessly behind development, and because of this, testers see developers as a source of a never-ending avalanche of work. Yeah, I can imagine that. Okay, when these organizations adopt TDD, this unhealthy adversarial relationship tends to fade away. Developers who write tests are far more understanding of what drives testers, and they personally experience the value of tests. Testers see developers as a source of low-level unit tests that they can inherit, and thus no longer have to write. This frees them up to do more interesting testing that often gets cut due to time constraints. This was something that I mentioned earlier in this book about time constraints and the fact that timing is usually a critical thing with testing. TDD also drives the defect rate down dramatically, so testers find themselves able to keep up. Everybody wins. TDD makes developers and testers into valued colleagues, and so improves the health of the culture. This contributes to improved products and less waste. Okay. Yeah, I can see this. I can understand this. I can. There was one. Before I was a freelancer, I worked for a company where we had like a whole department of testers. We called them QA engineers, and they would test the system that we were writing, and it was like a never-ending sort of to and fro. I mean, the relationship between us was fantastic. It was great, and it actually got much better, more crystallized when we were actually working in the same room as the testers. So we went through this period where we changed up where we were sat. So we were amongst people who were touching at various stages the projects that we were working on. And that was really good because we could visually see the things that they were doing, and then they could see what we were doing, and we could discuss things, and a lot of stuff, a lot of toing and froing got cut because I'm probably going to have to click always allow on that one. Because we were able to see that it was transparent what we were both doing, and it was great. But I can imagine that testers would see us as just an avalanche of work. And it must be a struggle when things get pushed to the end of the project. Right, I've gone and lost my bookmark. There we go. Okay, how is that how's that build doing? Let's always allow. I don't want that coming up again. Okay, let's go back. I'm just going to go back to the AWS console, and okay, it is done. We've got green lights all the way through. So, does this mean now that because I've just ran that Lambda script directly from AWS, that we now have an exclamation mark here? So let's do a shift refresh. Fingers crossed. Yes, sign in. That's a bit strange. There we go. I had to do it twice. So we have an exclamation mark. Woo! Oh, the little joys in life. So yeah, that was a serverless function that pushed the deployment of this. And essentially what this was doing, if I go to item again, and if we go now to, let's come out of this, let's clear down that thing here. If we go to CD and then go into, it's not system, it's straight into portal, I think. Yep. So essentially what that was doing was running make local, or mil. It was actually doing, cat. It was doing something. It was doing this here. Install prod, run production. Let's run this locally. Let's do make install local dev. It kind of does the similar thing, apart from the fact that NVM use stable. Apart from this is in develop mode, and so we're hot reloading, whereas on production, which is here, or beta I should say, it's in production mode, and it's hosted on AWS Amplify, which means that I don't have to worry about the Docker file, thank God, although I have a Docker file for it. Cool. And what we're doing here is we are making requests to the staging API, which is essentially a subdomain of this. So all of these come back as can be accessed via the API. And yes, this is all done. So if we load this up, we now should be able to run that. There we go. And can you see we have the exclamation mark here? The difference being, right, this is on localhost 8000. If I was to, let's say, for instance, I wanted to go and, sorry, I'm jumping about here, edit this again. Let's remove this and say, actually, no, we don't want that now. Let's hit update. So that's now removed. If we close that and then ran this once more, this is local, doing it locally. And we wait for that to finish. Shouldn't be long. He says. There we go. Okay, and then go back to here. This is the local version. Notice it's got the exclamation mark. If I was to refresh this, it doesn't. However, we still have an exclamation mark on staging or on beta because we need to trigger that deployment. That's the difference. Okay, so now I can see that. Now I can actually see that this is actually working, which is great. You know, the Python script is doing its thing, which is great. The next thing I need to do is actually make a feature in the content management system, which is here, which will trigger that Lambda function to fire and therefore deploy the site. That is basically what I would like to achieve today. Basically a button. Click that, it runs the deployment, and then I can refresh the page and off you go. That's essentially where I want to be today. And then we'll certainly improve that deployment process over the next, however, well, forever, I suppose, because I want to, wouldn't it be awesome to have notifications going to, say, Discord or email or what have you to say, you know, a deployment has just been done or something like that. That'd be cool. So having like a pipeline or push notifications where you get a message up here saying a new version of the site is ready, please update your page or something like that. Anyway, let's go and do that. So now let's change our attention to PHP. And we are now in the API. This is Symfony. And yeah, I haven't really given much thought as to how I'm going to do this, because I literally only built that script yesterday, that Python script yesterday. I'm guessing what I'm going to need to do is to use the AWS SDK, which we do have, I believe, in composer.json in somewhere here. So we do have that, and the environment variables are set for that, which is good. So I guess really thinking about it, I need a service, some sort of service that hooks into the AWS Lambda client. Let's actually, before we start this, let's actually get some documentation going. AWS PHP SDK. Documentation. Let's do developer guide. Or API reference would have been good, probably. Let's have a look in here for Amplify. No, it's actually Lambda. Managing secrets, managing S3 buckets. Maybe it might be easier if I just do AWS SDK PHP Lambda. Invoke. Okay, so we could do it statically like that, I suppose. using the factory method. Or could I do this? So get the client from the builder namespace. I think I prefer doing it like that. And then there's an invoke class or an API that I'll need to run. So it's then, once we got the client, we then invoke it, passing in the function name, which I guess would be the function, well, it'll be portal deploy. There's not actually going to be a payload. It is just deploy it. Off you go. Do your thing. Okay, so what I need to do is create like a service in here that wraps this. Testing this is going to be interesting because it's testing, well, so there's going to be a Symfony form, so testing the button, and then there's the actual service, testing the service in a kind of unit test kind of way, so there'll be a bit of mocking. And then there'll be the integration. So I don't know if I mean, the acceptance test of this would be, has the website actually been deployed? I don't know if I want to go that far. I'm not sure if I need to go that far. But let's think about this in terms of the unit tests first, and then let's work our way up. First of all, let's create a branch. That's probably the best thing to do. Let's go to features, and this is Lambda. Portal. Actually, no. It features publish because it's more than just a Lambda function. It is an actual page in the CMS that with a button that you press. So, should I build the page first and then build the button, or should I build the Lambda script and then build the button? I guess really what I should do is, we'll work on the hard stuff first. So we'll work on the service first. So entity, repository, response, schemas, Stripe, utilities, and validator. I think what I'm going to do is create a new folder in here, and we're going to call this AWS. And in here, we're going to create a new file. Let me just see if I can copy something from there. It is, we'll paste that in, and we'll change this to be no, we'll call it client test. Essentially, I need to create a sort of a facade, really. So my own client that wraps the AWS client. Right, let's get rid of all the Stripe stuff. And let's change that to be AWS. Right. So we want to instantiate a new client, our client. Let's change that client then. Let's get rid of all of this. We don't need those two or that. No, this one. Don't need that. Don't need this. I'm not sure if I need. So we're going to create a new client, and that client, is it going to take some parameters? Let me see. Have we got anything in here for AWS? Yes, of course. We've got the Lambda stuff. Images. The image upload. The S3. But that's going through another bundle, and that's going through Veach. So we don't have to worry about that. Veach is taking the config from packages, and I believe it's a feature uploader, and I think it's isn't it using some form? Aha, it's using that, which is in. I just want to see how the credentials get passed through, because obviously I need to do this myself. This. Okay, so it's taking the bucket name, and I'm not sure how it's populating the AWS stuff. Let's see if like the keys and the secrets. Where would that? I mean, I know they're in my environment variables, but are they in services? So we got Stripe keys, we got URLs. Okay, so I probably need to add something in here to do with the AWS key. Here we go. There we go. So it's CT file store, S3 client, that's running off the factory. Got the version, got the region, and then the credentials. So essentially I kind of need to do something similar to this, passing that into my client, which then goes down and passes that into the AWS client itself. Right, let's come out of that. Right, so it will be a parameter bag, because we do need these parameters. So I've removed that, haven't I? I removed the other one. Let's see if I can find that. It was in Stripe client. So we do need the parameter bag. Okay. So this is going to be AWS key and AWS secret. And what we'll do is we'll create, we'll pass that in, and then we'll check that is the instance of. So when we do get AWS, that should be the AWS client, I think. That's the S3 client. Unless I instead of creating this as the full thing, I created this as just the client for Lambda. Let me think. AWS factory and get Lambda client. There's a couple of ways we could do this. Essentially, this is going to be the parameters that I supply. In fact, we just need the profile, so we don't need the to keep it outside of the services, which is a good win. We don't need that. Key and the secret. I think I'm going to use a more robust way to connect to AWS Lambda is through a service builder. I think this is what I'm going to do. AWS factory, passing in, create using a configuration file. This allows you to specify credentials and other configuration in a configuration file. These settings can be shared across clients, so that you only have one. I don't know. Maybe we should do it like this, actually. You can provide credential profile like this to proceed. Essentially, like the test, really, or eventually, if we had a look at some pseudocode here, basically what I need to do is something like this. So we've got service is equal to new AWS something or other. So like Lambda. Something like that. And then we do service deploy. That's essentially what I want to do. And in fact, we can call this something completely different. We could call it what it is, which is deployer or something. Deployer, and then deploy. And then, I mean, from the client, from the business code, it has no knowledge as to how it's being deployed. It's just deploying it. And then what we would do here is we pass in the AWS. This would be an adapter, AWS adapter that we need to create, and we pass in the adapter, which would be something like adaptor equals AWS. This is all pseudo stuff. AWS adapter. That adapter would be set. We would have, or we could pass in. Sorry, we could pass in the AWS client. So we would do a client here. Which is equal to AWS. Well, it'd be Lambda, wouldn't it? Lambda client. Why is that deprecated? Fly docs, add streams. That's how that works, but this is deprecated. Maybe it is just the factory then. Maybe they prefer doing it this way. So if that's the case, it would be AWS we have I? That's weird. I can't find that namespace. Maybe I've got a different version. What version are we playing with on this? I suppose it's always wise to check the versions. Important, this document is for version 2 of the SDK. For documentation related to version 3, Right, before we move on, let's see if I'm actually running the right versions. Let's go to, where would that be? It would be Composer JSON. And we're running 3.1.37, so yeah, that is wrong. It would be there, the user guide. And it would actually not be this. It would be that. And we'll open that up as well. And we'll get rid of this page. There we are. So let's have a look at Lambda. Lambda client. AWS implements interface, uses the client trait, that's the namespace, AWS Lambda, and we would AWS client. Do we have an invoke on here? We've got get arguments, that's isn't that what I've just been on? Callable. Get default curl options. No. Invoke. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Client and then invoke. So how do we get the client then on this example? Is it just AWS Lambda? Here we go. And we would have new Lambda client. That's still hang on. Let's just go back a second. Will we instantiate a new? I guess we would instantiate a new client. Client is equal to new Lambda client, passing in an array of arguments, which would be our parameter bag, I think. Yes. Yes, service. Endpoints, regions, config. Yeah, that seems okay. So, in the adapter, what we would do is we would pass in this, and then from there we would do we would probably have a deployer passing in the AWS adapter, and then from here we would have adapter that's Lambda, isn't it? So that would be Invoke, is that correct? This is all pseudo stuff. I'm just trying to get this in my head sorted. The various stages that we need to do this. Invoke, passing in some parameters. Here we go. So we create the adapter, we then do AWS Invoke, passing in an array of stuff, and from just the clicking of the button, it just runs service deploy. So service deploy runs this, which essentially calls on the adapter. Of course, I've gone and knocked it out here. Which calls adapter invoke, passing in these parameters. And adapter invoke would essentially run client invoke, passing in those parameters that have been passed by the okay. All right, let's comment this out, because I think I've got that in my head now as what I need to do. So I need to create an adapter essentially for this AWS adapter, and possibly a deployer passing in the adapter. So this here is actually, instead of the client, this is a AWS adapter, or a client adapter, I should probably say. Client adapter. How have I done it with Stripe? Let's have a little look. Stripe. Client test. Essentially, this is my adapter for Stripe. And essentially just gets the... Actually, no, that's not. that's not it. It's this. Get Stripe. This is essentially my adapter for Stripe. So you pass in on the constructor. So we would be passing in the AWS factory stuff. And then we would be running, and then we would have the get Stripe method, and then getting the various services, just in case they change these in the future. So, I'm going to call this AWS adapter test. And we're going to pass in another AWS, passing in the parameters here, and then we're going to do get client, and get client is going to return the Lambda client. Is that, should I be doing that? Returning the Lambda client? Maybe we should extend this to be Lambda adapter. Oops. Getting started. Let's start with this. Install the SDK, basic usage. Creating the client. Use AWS S3 client. Okay, so it's a client. It's essentially a client per section. Create an SDK class to share across clients. Create an AWS S3 client using the shared configuration data. SDK create S3. Executing service operations. You can execute service operations by calling the method of the same name on a client object. For example, to perform S3 put operation, you must call AWS S3 put object. Okay. And then asynchronous stuff, fine. Working with result objects. Okay, all right. I think what I'm going to do is work on a Lambda adapter. I think that's probably what this will be. Let's get rid of that for a minute. So get client would get the Lambda client. Yes, and this would be and to configure this, we would pass in. Am I right in thinking that we pass in? We pass in an array of arguments, client configuration arguments. So, are you going to tell me what those are? I guess we can, it'll be up here, wouldn't it? Here we go, version, region. Notice that we did not explicitly provide credentials. That's because the SDK should detect the credentials from environment variables via blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. Okay, so we don't need to do that. However, we do need to pass in the region and the version. So that's what we'll do. So the version is latest, and the region would be something like EU West 2. And we've got the Lambda adapter here. We pass that in, and then we can return the parameter. We can return the actual client, which is Lambda client, on there. Okay, let's now. We'll keep that. We'll keep that commented out there. That all looks good to me. Now, obviously, this is going to fail flat on its face because we haven't got any of this stuff. However, Lambda client should be there. That's good. All right. Let's see. Why is that red? AWS SRC. Something's broken. Whoa. Is this just because I've opened it and it's just... Yeah, all right. It's just my IDE has picked up some issues in there, in the vendor folder. No problem. Okay, let's give this, let's say AWS and then AWS, let's do Lambda. Adapter. And this is get client. All right. So I don't even know if my Docker machine's running. I don't think it is. Let me. We can squeeze that over to that side. Let's clear down this screen. Let's go into the PHP stuff, which is in System and then API, and we'll do a Docker machine start of how to code well site dev. My tea is on the cusp of being extremely cold, so I may have to run down and get another one shortly. So we'll wait for the Docker stuff to load. I should have done this before the stream. I do apologize. And then what we'll do is we'll just run that test. It's going to fail. We know it's going to fail, but that's the whole point of this TDD malarkey. Well, not the whole point of TDD, but it's what we expect. So I need to do a eval of the machine, and if we do docker ps-a, they should have all come up. So we have the API itself. So can I do from here? Can I do make? Actually, let's not do it through. Let's get onto the box itself. So docker exe c -it. We're not working on baked by pen today, unfortunately. We're working on the API, and we're going in as bash. And then from here, we should be able to do bin code sep, and then run and unit, and then -g passing in. Whoops. Lols. I should pass in that. Let's do that again. Bin code sep run unit g. This will fail. Ooh, hello. Failed for something else. Contact sest does not exist. What? What? I love it when you get an error which you just wouldn't think. This here isn't right for a start. I can see it being highlighted. So let's just get that. And in AWS, this should be renamed to be Lambda adapter test. Let's run that again. Okay, something's wrong. In sest.php on line 33. something is not hooked up. Something that I didn't expect. Contact cest. Well, if it's a cest, then surely that's an API. We don't have contact in here. Why it's looking for it in cest.php, I've got no idea. My only thought is that perhaps there's a caching issue. This has kind of thrown me a little bit, to be fair. Let me just search for contact cest. Okay, so there is a contact cest, and it's apparently an entity. It's odd. That's odd. Why would that be in an entity? Why would that be in? Ugh. It's in unit entity. Unit entity. Unit entity. Yeah, it's there. So something's gone wrong with my namespaces. That's so weird. Okay. Oh man, I hate it when things like this happen. Let's just run all the units. Is there any other issues? No, it's that. Let's run the let's run the API quickly. It's not letting me. Have I moved? This is looking for categories cess now. Something ain't right here. What about composer update hyphen dry run? What? Oops, dry hyphen run. What's going on? Have I changed this? It's been a while since I've worked on the API. Don't think so. So this is going to check whether there's any updates. But I do this because sometimes it reports errors. Wait, hold on. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. PHP-v. I'm on PHP 8. That's why. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Sorry for wasting everybody's time. I'm running on the wrong version of PHP. Oh dear. Never mind. We can sort that out. That's okay. I obviously just didn't switch it back last time. So Docker images we should have in this VM. Quite a lot of built images that don't exist. I'll probably clear those down. We got PHP 8 RC, and then we got PHP 8 Alpha. That's the one we're using, but the one we should be on is 7.4. First up, let's do a system prune. Docker system prune -a. Yes, please. So this will drop various things that I don't need, and it'll hopefully give me some gigabytes worth of space back. So it'll drop all of this, and all of this, and all this. It'll also drop, of course, PHP 7.4. Never mind, we can rebuild that. That's fine. I'll go and get a cup of tea when that happens. So yeah, you can see that's been flushed or removed. That's all being removed. That's fine. Okay, reclaimed 4 gigs, no problem. So if we did Docker images again, we have that. And now if we change this to be running from, hey Murphy, if we change this to be, that's Python code. Nope, not interested in Python code at the moment. If we change the build, let me just double check something. If we did docker compose, is it just because the image was wrong? Is that the thing? This is running off of environments and then Docker file. So environments, and then it's development, API, development, Docker file. I reckon it's just been pointed to the wrong Docker file. That's the correct one. So if we did docker compose, up --d build, and I am going to get a cup of tea because this is going to take a little bit of time. So I'll leave this going on screen. I'm going to grab a cup of tea and then I will be back. So stay tuned. I'm also going to give my dog a pat. I often forget that I'm actually live when I walk into this room. Right, so I've got my cup of tea. Woo! And we're still downloading stuff, are we? Oh gosh. Well, whilst this goes on, let me read another page from the TDD companion. We are now on page 9. Whoop whoop. Okay. Just have a little sip of water. Hello, Murphy. So this book is really good because there's a page per, well, it's like a page per thing, per topic, which is really handy. Okay, so the TDD, this section is called TDD requires control of scope. Okay, a test reacts to everything currently in scope that it does not control. Ideally, that should not only, ideally that should only be, I can't speak. Ideally, that should be only one thing. Everything else in scope, therefore, must be controlled by the test, or it may react to the wrong thing and give misleading results. Not too sure. Let me wait until my head gets around that. Let me read that again. A test reacts to everything currently in scope that it does not control. A test reacts to everything currently in scope that it does not control. Ideally, that should be only one thing. Everything else in scope, therefore, must be controlled by the test, or it may react to the wrong thing and give misleading results. For example, if a production entity uses a service call as part of its implementation, and the service being called is not what the test is testing, then that call must be controlled by the test because it is in scope. I'm struggling to get my head around this. If the test fails, and this is a problem with just me, just trying to get my head around this. If the test fails, we want to know that it is not a failure of the service, but rather of the code that it calls. The code currently under test. Okay, let me just read on. This is a major reason to use a mock object. Anything which is in scope but which we are not currently testing should be replaced by some form of test double, which in TDD is typically called a mock object. Yes, I get that. I understand that. Hang on. Now the penny drops. We're talking about scopes of things in testing. Therefore, if it's not in scope, we mock it. Yeah, okay, right. I can't believe it took so long for me to understand that, but okay. Knowing how to create mocks, how to get them inserted into the system when the tests are running, and how to use them to confirm that the specific intent of the test is a major aspect of being an effective TDD developer. Forgive me, I'm going to read this whole page once more, just because I think some of this stuff, I struggle with TDD, as you can probably tell, and I think sometimes I have to sort of go over the same thing again and again just for it to settle in my head. Okay, so this section is called TDD requires control of scope. A test reacts to everything currently in scope that it does not control. Ideally, that should be only one thing. Everything else in scope, therefore, must be controlled by the test, or it may react to the wrong thing and give misleading results. For example, if a production entity uses a service call as part of its implementation, and the service being called is not what the test is testing, then that call must be controlled by the test because it is in scope. If the test fails, we want to know that it is not a failure of the service, but rather of the code that calls it. The code currently under test. This is a major reason to use a mock object. Anything which is in scope but which is not currently testing should be replaced by some form of test double, which in TDD is called a mock object. Knowing how to create mocks, how to get them inserted into the system when the tests are running, and how to use them to confirm the specific intent of the test is a major aspect of being an effective TDD developer. Yes, that does start to make sense now. Basically, if you're in my head's translated that to be if you're testing something which touches upon something else, you need to define the scopes. So if something that you're touching isn't the thing that you're actually testing, but you need that, essentially it's like what we're doing here. You know, I'm not actually testing the AWS code, however I need to use the AWS code, and therefore I need to mock that when it actually gets to running the AWS Lambda functions, right? Yes. So where it's saying that if a production entity uses a service call as part of its implementation, which in this case with AWS this is actually quite a topical page, this, and the service being called is not what the test is testing, because we're not actually testing the fact that AWS is coming back with or actually doing the deployment, we just need to use it. Then that call must be controlled by the test because it's in scope. If the test fails, we want to know that it's not a failure of the service. Yeah, so I don't want to ensure that the AWS code is correct because that's not my responsibility. That's the responsibility of AWS. However, I want to be checking my responsibility is to make sure that my code that implements the AWS code is correct. So where it says we want to know that it is not a failure of the service, but rather of the code that calls it, the code currently under test. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Cool. We are now done with those Docker builds, which is marvelous. What I'll do in the chat, if anybody's interested in this book, the TDD Companion, it's certainly helping me wrap my head around TDD far better than the others. What I'll do is I will grab the. I put it in the newsletter earlier, the link to it, but I'll see if I can grab that up. Let me grab that. And then hopefully we should be able to run all of these, or all the tests. In fact, I'll do that whilst we're waiting for me to faff about with. Let's get into Bash, and then let's first of all do a PHP-v. PHP 7.4 now, which is good. And if we did a bin code set run of, say, the units. There she goes. Right, let me just grab this this link, because it's a really fascinating book. Lambda. Aha, that's the problem. That's the error that we wanted. Which one is this? It's that one there. Yeah, so the book, the TDD Test Companion, is book link. If anybody is interested in this book, if I can I can't type, I can't talk. There we go. That's the link. Two seconds. Sorry, Murphy's under my desk. I just wanted to move some wiring out of the way. Last thing I want is a fried dog. Okay, so we need to build this, obviously. The Lambda adapter. Whilst I remember, I should probably say that I'm due an Amazon delivery today. I didn't think it was coming today, but apparently it is. I thought I booked everything to come next week, but I'm upgrading my network here, and I've got some tools and stuff. So I may have to rush downstairs, hence part of the reason why the door's open, so I can actually kind of hear. It's a good job these are open back headphones. So yeah, I may have to rush downstairs and have a look. Right, so we need to create this file, and this file is going to go in. It's a service call essentially, so it'll go into src. We have Stripe down here, so I think what we'll do is we'll create another file called AWS, another folder, sorry, AWS, and a PHP class. We call this Lambda adapter. That's fine. And essentially what we need is a constructor. Public, if I can. Public function construct. This is going to take the parameters. Is that right? Is that how I've decided that's going to work from here? AWS adapter, which is actually going to be the Lambda adapter. And then we pass in the client. Actually, we pass in the client. And we also pass in the parameters. Yeah, all right. Let's have a gander with that. So we pass in Lambda client, which is client, and we also pass in the parameter bag interface, I think. Parameter bag interface. I think that's correct. So this is parameter bag. Okay. We need to create some routines, some properties. Sorry. Client is going to be the Lambda client. Checking on my dog. Client, and then the property up here. Let's just not worry about that for a second. We need to get, in order to get this test to pass, we need to do we need to create a public function called getClient, which will return the Lambda client that we've just grabbed here. So this is this client, and it will return that. Okay. All right. Let's go over to the test, and then let's grab that. So that's Lambda client. Lambda adapter. That's what we need. There we go. And we pass in a new instance of that. Should we? I wonder. Maybe we should, instead of passing that through, we should just instantiate it. No. So So this really is the this, yeah, Lambda equals new Lambda. Right, let's run that. They have all oh no, that hasn't passed. It's because the region configuration value is required. So this really, this really should be a mock, to be honest. A region configuration value is required for the Lambda service. So to get around this, we would go to Lambda. Actually, no, you wouldn't be doing that, would you, Pete? No. You would be doing this. You would be doing, this is a new Lambda client, and we would be passing in the parameters, a bit like how we've done it with Stripe. So with Stripe, we've got client here, and we instantiate a new Stripe client, passing in all of this stuff. Yeah. And all of this stuff comes from the parameter bag. Yeah, gotcha. So that would be region. And region would be coming from the environment variables, which would be set. Let me see. Let's take this off the stream for a minute. Let me just double check something. .env, where are we? Do I have a region in here? Yes. Okay. Let me run that again. Sorry, 2 seconds whilst I just sort this out. The Lambda adapter, passing that in and then running this. That's fine. Configuration version now. Okay, gotcha. Good. Okay, and let's see if we can grab those from the environment variables. Bear with me a second whilst I just tinker with this. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So really, what I need to do, because I want to inject that in. So that's not really how I want to set this up. I basically want to inject it in. So I need to set it up outside of the adapter. Okay. So essentially, I think what I need to do here, I'll just get rid of that for a minute. Bring this back on stream and, oops, sorry. My phone just fell on the floor and then he hit Murphy's face. Sorry, buddy. Go back to sleep. So essentially, this is how we're rolling with that, but essentially what I need to do is that's within the class. I don't want to do this. So I think what I need to do is have a test. Instead of getting the client, we should be setting the client. So this is set client, and this would be we would pass in the parameters into here, and we would do client. In fact, let's call this what it is. This is an adapter. And we would be running adapter. And in fact, if we were to set them, that wouldn't even be a thing. We would just go adapter set client, and we would pass in a client, which would be the thing that has already been configured. And then we would run get client, and then that would return the Lambda client. Fine. Yeah, that makes sense. So if we were to do this without mocking it, what we would do is we would say client, but essentially it would be the same as this, wouldn't it? Really, if we think about it, it would be like this. Client is equal to all of these things, right? Hard code those through, and then we would pass that into there, and then we would say get client, and that would return all of this jazz. So if we then went to run that, it's going to fail because we don't have set client in here. Too few arguments on the constructor. Actually, no, that's something completely different. It's because that still requires the parameter bag. So in fact, we don't actually need to have that at all. We just need to have a public function set client. Yeah, let me first up. Let's just run this to get the actual test that we're working on, which is this called to undefined method set client, which is fine. So that would take the AWS Lambda adapter. No, it wouldn't do that, would it? Sorry, Lambda client. That's what it would need. Client. And we would do this. Client is equal to client, like that, and we would return self. All right. And this is failing because set client must be an instance of Lambda adapter. None returned. Oh, huh. Dope. Sorry. Okay, so we got a setter and a getter. Fine. Okay. Okay, what's that? Operation not found. Get client. Get client. This client. Set client. Client. Oh, sorry, that's adapter get client now. Beg your pardon. Okay, now the thing is, really, we should be mocking this rather than actually building it. We don't need that at the moment. So that sets and gets the client. Also, I think what I do want to do is do a public function. I also want to, let's do this as a test. I want to instantiate an actual client as well. So this is testing set client. The next one is to test adapter instance. Because I would like to have this as an optional. No, not an optional. It doesn't need to be optional. So when you instantiate a new adapter, I want to pass in the client that we've got. So that goes up here, and then that runs set client. Okay, that makes sense. Right, so give me a second whilst I just sort all this out. Yep. So it's failed on the first one again. So really, this is reset. Because we passed that in, and then we passed that in with the setting. Okay, so that goes up here. We then do a public function constructor passing in Lambda, like that, and then this. We then do this set client passing in the client. Okay, fine. How are we getting? Good. Okay, so as long as the adapter is the client has been configured outside of the adapter, that's okay. That's fine. It's not the responsibility of the adapter itself to configure it. That should be done somewhere else. It's the responsibility of the adapter to get the client and run functions on the client. That's fine. I gotcha. Okay, so. Really, these need to be mocked. To be fair, so because we're not actually testing this, like we're testing the instance that's returned. So this create mock Lambda client. Whoops. Yeah, Lambda client. That should be the thing. Lambda client class, and we want to I've totally forgotten how to do this. Give me a sec. This is all coming back with AWS stuff. That's not what I'm after. Let's have a look. So this is codeception. Mock AWS. Mock codeception. This make okay, fine. This make declares mocks inside codeception unit tests. Fine. So Lambda class method accepts. That's right. So we have parameters here. Gotcha. So make empty instantiates a class, having all methods replaced with dummies. The constructor is not triggered. So that might be a thing. Make empty except. This construct instantiates a class instance by running the constructor parameters as a second argument. Properties and methods can be set in the third argument. Even protected and private methods can be set. Accepts either a class name or an object of that class. So I wonder. I very much doubt this will work, but we'll give it a go. I doubt this will work because mock itself will be an object. But anyway. Oh no! What am I doing? I doubt that'll work. Okay, surprisingly that did. So we can get rid of the client. Oh, actually, no. Wait. Wait, I forgot that. We were resetting on this one, weren't we? Groovy. Okay, cool. That just shows my limited knowledge on that. Okay, so this is going to make the empty Lambda client, and we pass that into the adapter. Fine. Okay, so that's no longer there. That thing. Pass that in. Okay, so we got a getter and setter. Woo! I mean, big whoop there. The next thing we need to do is with this adapter. So we got set, reset client, and then we've got instance. Create instance. Okay. So we've done this part. Essentially, that will be our fine adapt. So we passed in the client, and now we can run, or we should be able to run an invoke. So public function. Let's just grab one of these. Bung it up there. Test adapter invoke, or test invoke. So we make an empty Lambda client, we instantiate that, and then we do adapter invoke. I mean, we could do run, to be honest, as a better name, I think. The reason why I'm doing these adapters is that it might not be, I may use something completely different later, you know. I'm not going to hard code myself, couple myself to AWS. Okay, so on run, we get a response back, which is a string. Is it a string? No. Yes. No. Should it be a Boolean? Really, it's the response object of Lambda. Yeah, that would require, though, mocking that out. I reckon we need to have a response adapter as well. Yeah, I reckon we need to have a response. That should be, so Lambda client here, that should be response, and I think that should be a Lambda response adapter. Which we haven't got yet. And I think what we need to do it's not an adapter. It's it should be an interface. That's what it should be. That's really what it should be. Lambda response interface. That's what it should be. That we haven't defined yet, so this will fail. So this is test run. AWS adapter response. Okay, let's run this. This will fail as it should. Yep, because we can't find that. So let's go and build that out. So AWS Lambda here. What we want to do is have a method in here called public function, and we want to have run. and run, I guess, needs to take some bits and pieces, but it needs to return a Lambda response interface, which we haven't created. Yeah, let me think about what is it that we need to actually pass to this. If we went to the documentation, which is sort of here. If we went to Lambda, and we had a look at the Invoke. This is what my run command will run. Invoke. Here we go. So it takes a couple of things here. Well, it's an array of the client context, the function name. So we definitely need the function name. Payload, I reckon we pass in at this present second. I think what we need to do is pass in the payload and the function name. Because all the other stuff, the client context, the invocation type, and everything else can be set outside. Like, for instance, the invocation type here, we've got dry run. By default, it'll be set to like event, but maybe in testing, we want to set that to dry run. And this will be handled by the adapter itself, not the actual routine. So maybe what we do here is in the test, when we do, it's down here, isn't it? On run, we pass in the name of the thing that we want to run and the payload. Okay, so that would be a string, and then that would be a string. Let's put those through. So name is temp is test. Payload is an array, and we'll say sort of like opt temp opt1. All right. So when we run this, we need to take a string, which is the name, and we need to take the payload, which is an array. Payload. Okay. So when we run this, we need to return an interface. Sorry, beg your pardon, an interface. Yeah, that makes sense. And what was the interface called? Lambda response interface. That's what I've called it. Okay. Now, let's have a look. Let's just have a scroll through here. This is the result syntax. So my response interface will have a body which will contain this. And the methods like get status, get payload, get error, get version, get result. Bear with me 2 seconds, I just want to double check something downstairs. Give me a second. It's alright, the correct people were in the house. So, where was I? Oh yes. I need to create an interface for this, and we'll do that now. So we go over to AWS. Let's get rid of that for a minute. Let's create a new file. Let's do, it was a Lambda response interface. So interface, Lambda response interface, and obviously this needs to have a namespace, right? can get rid of that. Okay, now this interface is going to have, if we have a look back at the, well, I tell you what, we're going too far. Let's just make these tests run, right? That's probably a good idea. Lambda, I always get being dyslexic, the B and the D. Oh god, it just winds me up. Why can't this be called something else, like remote code or something? Okay, so on run, we need to return a Lambda response interface. Return, okay. So this is going to fail, but it'll fail hopefully with a different error than undefined. Yeah, so the return value of Lambda run must be an instance of Lambda response interface, and none is returned. So essentially what I need to do is do something here, which would be something like this client invoke, passing in an array where we have the, is it in uppercase? Sorry, bear with me whilst I'm having to go, jump through hoops here. Yeah, this is what we need. Let me just paste all of this in. I'll do it down here, and we'll put it in comments. Right, so it takes a function name. Well, I tell you what, let's just to speed up. It takes all of those things. And I'm not sure, well, the function name is going to be the name. The payload is going to be payload. String or resource or a HTTP message. I thought that was supposed to be an array. Maybe this is a JSON. Let me go back to the documentation. Log type, payload, it's a string resource or a stream interface. The JSON. This is JSON. Okay. So in fact, I just want to return an array, and I want this adapter to deal with that. Okay, so what we do is we say payload is equal to JSON encode, passing in the values. Actually, no, that's wrong, isn't it? That should be guzzle. Okay, so that's now the payload. Fine. That should return a string or false, so we will have to check that. We're not going to worry about these yet, I don't think. And then once this is done, we'll get response is equal to that. So that returns a AWS result. Sorry. No. This is an adapter. We shouldn't be conforming to. We shouldn't be conforming to AWS. It's a response. And then what we do is we put that response into a Lambda response interface somehow. So we could create that. Yeah, we could create that somehow. Then we return somehow. So let's do that. Let's do that. So PHP file will do a Lambda response. And what we do is public function. Essentially, this is an adapter itself, construct, and this takes an AWS response. AWS result. Is that right? Yes. And we do private results. Okay. This result is equal to result. This implements Lambda response interface, which means that if there is any different type, like if I didn't do AWS, if it was something else, then I could create an interface, and then these things would have to conform to it. That's fine. After this, then we can, on the response, on the adapter, we can then do return new lambda response, passing in the response of that. Okay. All right, let me just we'll run the test, but we obviously need to mock out the invoke. So let me see. So we make an empty. I've totally forgotten what that does. Make empty. Make it empty except. To replace a method, provide its name and key in the second parameter and its value or callback function as. Okay, so this is saying we're replacing isValue. We're saying isValue here is just empty and it returns true. I think that and that does the same thing. So, okay. So I think in this case, this is still make empty, right? Make empty except. Make empty except. So we pass in an array where invoke returns expected parameter of type string. Hang on. Wait. And to replace a method, provide its name as a key in the second parameter, save, and its return value or callback function, save. Okay, right. Invoke. I have no idea what that would be. Initiates properties and even protected methods. Save the name. No. I don't want to. I want to replace it. But I don't know how to do that. I don't. Make empty. Make empty. User return true. Oh, maybe that's what I need to do. So it is still make empty. And this would be like that. And then that would be that. This is a method, right? And that method would return a result class. I think that's right. Let's give it a run. Yeah. No. Argument 1 passed to Lambda response must be an instance of AWS result, but null is given. So when we did a run, what we did was we JSON encoded the payload, which was empty, and then we did a response. And what we're saying is that we mocked the invoke to return. I thought that would mock that out so we have a result. Isn't that what I've just done? Hang on. Yeah. To replace a method, provide its name as a key in the third parameter and its return value. So this is making an empty constructor. Not sure I need to do that. Let's make empty except. Initiates a class instance by running constructor with all methods replaced with dummies. Parameters for the constructor passed as second argument properties, and methods can be set in a third argument. Even protected and private properties can be set. I wonder if I'm getting properties and methods mixed up. I wonder if I need to do I'm probably gonna have to mock this. Which is an empty array. Okay. Alright, we might be able to work with that. Nope, something's gone bang. Lambda response must be an instance of AWS, but null is given. Invoke. We want to replace that with a function that just returns a result with nothing in it. This client. Man, that's tough. All right, let's step through this. Line 59, sorry. On the test, on run. And then 38 on the Lambda adapter. Which is here. So it's almost like it skipped that. And then line 10 on the response, which would be the constructor. this is ridiculous. I feel like I'm wiring these up wrong. To replace a method, provide its name as the key and its return value or callback function as a parameter. And we're saying that it's null. Very strange. That didn't do anything. I reckon I've got something wrong with my I don't think I need to use make empty. I think that's the problem. Instantiates a class having all methods replaced with dummies. I think that's the problem. To replace a method's provide its name. So that's what we've tried to achieve, but I don't think for some reason it's not doing its thing. Let's instead of using make empty, let's just do make. And we'll just focus on this particular test. Okay. Operation not found, invoke. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Operation not found, invoke. So Lambda adapter test on 59, that's where we're at. Then it was 35 on the actual adapter itself, which is in here, 35, which is sort of there really, on the payload. Then we went into the actual SDK, and it's now saying that we can't actually find invoke. Is this... hang on a minute, invoke. Okay. Methinks I can't do this. Because these are clever AWS. These are magic methods. Okay, let me see. Can we? That's got a capital I, so I'm wondering if we need to sort that out as well. Let's do that. I reckon it's. Not found invoke. Okay, I'm pretty sure someone else has probably hit this issue. AWS, so PHP mock AWS Lambda SDK. Let's not get too specific. Handlers and middleware, static client facades. AWS SDK for PHP has the ability to mock a client facade for testing. You can explicitly set a mocked client object. Let's have a look at this. This sounds good, doesn't it? Let's search for the word mock. Why use facades? The use of a static client facade is completely optional. We have included this feature. It can still be mocked. Okay, that's the only reference. And I think this is the old documentation anyway. Please see testing below. Testing code that uses client. Oh no, we've got some more mocks. To mock a client facade for a test, you explicitly set the mock client object. S3 client get mock builder. Disable the original constructor, get the mock expects, if any. Yeah, can we do this instead of the way we're doing this? Because this seems a bit not correct. This get mock builder. Disable original constructor. List buckets. Okay, let's give this a shot. Let's give this a shot. This. Is it get mock builder? Or just let's just type mock. Get mock builder. Okay. And then, so we then create the client, which in this case would be Lambda client class. Okay. And then what do? We disable the constructor, fine. Okay. So disable, can we do that? Disable original constructor. Disable original constructor. Okay, fine. Next after that we get the mock. Fine. Get mock. Good. Okay. So this returns the mock. Okay. Good stuff. Okay. So mock. Expect any method list buckets will return. This makes more sense. So this method, which is invoke, will, and then this return value a new result. And I think we also need to do something else, don't we? This we need to do up here mock expects this any. And then this method, invoke, will return a result. Okay, let's give that a shot instead. Trying to configure method invoke, which cannot be configured because it does not exist, has not been specified, is final, or is static. All right, let me have a look. AWS SDK, PHP, mock, Lambda, invoke. Mocking out for unit testing. AWS not able to mock the invoke. Have I just chosen the only method that can't be invoked? TypeScript. This is JavaScript. Here is an example of using jest. So lambda.invoke. Okay, that didn't help. I think this is just the one we went to, isn't it? And that looks like Go. It's not actually... mock Lambda. There's a mock handler. Okay. Returns promises that are rejected or fulfilled using the AWS result interface. How strange. How strange, because this is the actual thing that we're doing here, running client invoke. Have I spelt this incorrectly or something daft? No. So when we run this, it's just saying trying to configure a method invoke which cannot be configured because it doesn't exist and has not been specified or it's static. Lambda client. Get mock builder. Let's just step through. S3 create bucket. Okay. Something to do with enabling facades. That uses client facades. Alternatively, if you are specifying only mocking responses from clients, you might consider using the Guzzle Mock plugin. I just basically want to say this invoke method needs to be mocked out. But because it's not actually technically a method on this function here, it's because it's a method that's been done in annotations, which is a pain. This is a Lambda client and it extends an AWS client. So let me think, because I believe this is, if we step through this a minute, I reckon that this is like a magic method, like a getter, a magic get. Oh, sorry, a magic method. Construct. There's no like invoke thing here. It's like a get config, get credentials, get region, sleep, parse class. Yeah, this isn't, unless it's in the interface. Call, there we go. Call. Create and execute command for an operation by name. Yeah, okay, that's a pain. So PHP mock magic method call. Is it possible to use PHP mocks? Yeah, okay. PHP units get mock takes a second argument, an array with the names of methods to be mocked. If you include a method name in this array, the mocked object will contain a method with that name, which expects okay. This applies even for methods that are not defined in the real class. Okay, so something like the following should work. This get mock array find one. Keep in mind that you'll have to explicitly include any other methods that also need to be mocked, since only the method's name in this array are defined. Note that if you need to do more complex stuff via a mock builder, disable the original constructor. For instance, you have to set methods explicitly. This might be it. This might be the thing. Set methods. I think this is the thing. Yeah. Pain. Hey, the miner. Thank you for following. Appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you've had a good Sunday. Or having a good Sunday. I didn't think I would have to fall into this trap, to be honest. Let's see now. This mock, this accepts. It is this thing here, set. So this is using mock builder, which is what we're using here. But this is the problem, I think. What I need to do is after the mock, after this. Or before this, sorry, I should do set methods. Oh, it's deprecated. Good. Why is this deprecated? Just when I thought I was getting somewhere. Add only methods. Add and soft it. Okay. Maybe it's just a case of changing the so in set methods. Yikes. Right, is there add? There's add methods. That's fine. Fine. Put in an array. Put in invoke. Does this take... No, I'm not even going to look at that. That'll make my head spin. Okay. Let's just do this and see what the error is this time. Lambda constructor must be an instance of AWS result. Null is... Okay, this is the same problem we had before. Add methods. So, is this a case of it... I've got a feeling we've just hit the same issue, but from a different direction. A reflection class has a method, expects parameter 1 to be a string, and an object is being given. Has method. Maybe I'm not understanding that. Specifies methods that don't exist in the class which you want to mock. Can I return the... What I'm looking for is a way of returning the actual response. The return value of that. So methods is find one by slug. Find one by slug. Is there a way of defining the response? Right, add methods. Like, yeah. PHP units. Add methods. I just want to get... Set methods, get ID, get first name, get last name. doesn't look like it. I think I'm only going to be... Yeah, I think I'm tackling this differently to what... sorry. Yeah, so we can't do that. We can't do that. This is an array of methods to add. What I'm looking for is a way of supplying a, because this is going to just return null. It's supplying the return value of that somehow. And if I put that back and then ran the test again, it would just say reflection has method expects parameter 1 to be a string, but an object has been given. So I think we're breaking that. If I was to put in sort of test here as a string, run this, I guess we get the same issue as well. No, we get a different issue, which is operation not found, invoke. Oh man. Oh, this is painful. Surely someone's done this before. There must be someone. AWS, either I'm asking the wrong questions, mocking specific invocation of a Lambda invoke when chaining invocation. Okay, this isn't PHP, but AWS.mock. AWS.mock. Is there like an AWS mocking library that I'm not aware of? PHP AWS mock handlers and middleware in AWS. This is version 3, AWS exception, mock exception. Let's have a look at this. The primary mechanism for extending AWS SDK through handlers. Mock a handler. New mock handler. We recommend using mock handler when writing tests that use the SDK. You can use AWS mock handler to return a mocked result or throw mock exceptions. You can queue the results or exceptions. Okay, new mock handler. Mock handler. Maybe this is something... Okay, let's try this some more. Mock handler is equal to new mock handler. Yeah, apparently I've got it. Okay. Apparently I've got it. So new result is foobar. Okay, I think we might be cooking on gas here. Mock handler. I never knew this existed. Append. Okay, right. I think I understand this. So we're saying create a new client with a mock handler. Handler is mock. Right. Middleware. Middleware is a special type of high-level function. This isn't really mocking, allowing me to mock the... this is just saying, like, this is a mocked result. Handler list. Validate. Available middleware. Map command. History. Right. I don't actually want... I just want to mock the... Alright, this is saying DynamoDB client, there's a handler thing. So let's go back to the Lambda documentation. Do we have a handler on no. I'm looking for the Lambda client, can we pass in the handler? So client configuration arguments. Okay. Client interface. Handler list. Yeah, I think what I can do is when we get to actually instantiating the Lambda client itself. Oh dear, this is difficult. We would pass in we wouldn't disable the original constructor, I don't think, because we would pass in. Yeah, we would pass in a handler, I think. If I'm right in thinking, essentially we want to mock this as well, being Lambda, we want to mock this client, passing in its own mocked handler. Christ. Part of me is thinking that I'm thinking about this, I'm either overcomplicating it, which is quite plausible, or I'm barking up the wrong tree completely and utterly. So, could we do something like this? Could we do an append? And result client list tables. Result will contain foobar. Client being DynamoDB. Right, I'm with you. I think. I think I understand. So, what I need to do is create this is the result. Okay, this is the result. So, what I need to do is append a result. So this would be new result, which is what we were trying to do beforehand. Let's say this one is like, yeah, let's follow the example, foo and bar. We'll follow the example, but obviously using it for Lambda rather than DynamoDB. Okay, so we've appended that. You can provide a function to invoke here. We throw a mocked exception, so mock append. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that, I don't think. Okay, so now we create the client. Now in this case, the client itself is going to be mocked. So we're not actually going to have, and then, right. So the tricky part here is how do you apply, because this is how the DynamoDB, could we just instead of mocking this, could we just instantiate it, passing in, let's just try this as a little hack here. So instead of creating the client, creating the mock, we're just going to go straight and create the client, I think. So we'll do Lambda equals new Lambda, and then if this works, we'll try and mock it out. So Lambda client, we're passing in an array where the think. Yeah, where version sorry, there's so much to consider here, is latest. And the region, actually, let's just copy all of this. There we go. It doesn't matter, because we've got a different handler. And the handler is going to be that, right? Is that correct? Right. So now, let's just comment that all out. And let's pass this in to there. Okay. So, it's going to then hit the run. The run is then going to do a response. We've created a handler that will load up this, and then we'll pass that in as a Lambda response. The Lambda response is an interface, or implements the interface of Lambda response interface, which we are eventually checking for in the test. All right, let me see if this runs. No. Error retrieving credentials from the instance. See, this is why I wanted this to be mocked out. I should be able to run this without even being connected to the internet. So, all right. Okay. I mean, this would work if we were to change this to something like EU West 2, I think, and then ran this. Nope, maybe not. Is it EU West 1? No. Error retrieving from instance profile meta. Okay. I think we can do profile. Cannot read credentials from root AWS. Oh, great. But anyway, it's just because I haven't got those in the Docker container. That's fine. I'm skipping over this for a minute. The fact of the matter is, I should be able to mock that out itself. Which is what this was doing, but we don't want to disable the constructor. Set constructor arguments.
Hello, coders.
Okay, so we've got an array here. Hey, thank you for joining NSO 1995. That was an amazing year. Yeah, thank you for joining, everybody. I really appreciate it. I am currently struggling through trying to mock tests or mock AWS objects for my unit tests. It's becoming a bit of a pain. Yes, this is PHP Storm, completely, totally. I am British, indeed. Yep. Hello, Emily. Thank you for joining today. Yeah, I'm 36. I'm British. Okay. Where's everyone else from? Where do you all reside? Was it my accent that gave away the Britishness? I think I'm gonna see if I can just do this and pass those in and return the mock itself instead of doing this. And we've also passed in, of course, the mock handler. So attempt number 5004. Brazil and the US. Oh, well, welcome. Welcome. I bet you're all having better the weather than us. We've had some rather interesting weather recently. Must be type of an array. Okay. Argument password must be type of a string was given. Whoa, 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 whoa. What have I done here? That is an array. That is argument 1. That doesn't make sense. Have I just lost my whole ability to write code? That's probably... That is definitely argument 1. The only argument passed to that. Hang on, wait. Lambda client, it passed a Lambda client. Construct must be type of an array. A string has been given. Do I need to disable the original constructor and then set the constructor arguments? No. It doesn't sound like American English. $29. Still, that's quite warm. 35. Jeez. We've been having some storms recently. So it's getting sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's one of those weird times of the year because we're getting into autumn now. To be honest, let's just be honest here. The weather's not always great in Britain. But it's got one of those it's that kind of time of year where you have to change your clothes multiple times of the day because sometimes in the morning it's nice and sunny and really hot and baking, and then in the afternoon it's freezing cold, and then by the time you finish work it's raining. Wow, yeah, that's crazy hot. That's crazy heat. Argument 1 of Lambda response. We're moving on here to a different era, which in some cases is a good thing. Must be an instance of AWS result, but a null has been given. So it looks like we've managed to actually pass the run. Must be, but null has been given. So we supplied the mock handler. Okay. And we did have the result in there. Argument 1 to a Lambda response must be an instance of AWS response, but a null has been given. So it's almost as though so this passed, but the response was null, which doesn't make sense. Again, I think we've hit the same issue, but from a different angle. Now the trick part here is that we can't actually mock the invoke because it doesn't exist. Unless we did add method and we passed in an array which had invoke, but I can't for the life of me work out how to actually define the response of that. So it's the same deal. So I'm a bit confused. I don't think I need to use this. To be honest, I don't think that's what we need to do. I think that was just a bit of a bit of desperation on my behalf, I think. It's weird that I can't do that. Instantiates a class having all methods replaced with dummy except one. Constructor is triggered. Properties and methods can be replaced, even protecting private methods. But the trick here is that invoke doesn't technically exist because it's a magic method, so I can't really override it. PHP unit add method return. Managing return values with PHP mocked objects. Okay. I now have a fake context object and I need to configure it, so we'll return 5, returning different values from multiple calls. Making a stub objects method throw an exception. Mapping arguments using callbacks to manage more complex logic. So, I mean, if we went method invoke will return new result. That's what we want. Trying to configure method invoke, which cannot be configured because it does not exist and has not been specified, is final or is static. This is the same problem we had hit before because this is a the invoke method is a magic method. And apparently you can get around this by doing add methods. And you pass in an array of methods, so for instance this would be invoke, but there's no way that I can find that you can define the return of this. So I'm a little bit stumped at the moment. Can I change the method? Change a method on PHP after I've set it. Add method. Add methods. Unless I need to do add methods invoke and then say method invoke will return. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to do that. So I've always done it where it's just been like this, but I'm thinking perhaps we need to do it like that. Argument passed to constructor, which is the Lambda adapter, must be an instance of Lambda client. Instance of PHP mock invocation mocker given. Oh dear. Add methods invoke. Invoke will return. Add methods. Rubbish. What? Seriously? Hang on a minute, I think I got it working. Bear with me a second whilst I wrap my head over what I've just done. So, we create the mock. I'm not even going to bother with this mock handler. I don't think. I think that was just that was just me sheer desperation there. So I think what we can do is just disable the constructor. We add the method of invoke, and then we do method mock method invoke will return. Let's tidy this up a wee bit. Has that worked? Oh man, that worked. Thank you for that. NSO 1995. Publishing others' private information is missing an apostrophe in the COC, by the way. Can you just define in the chat where that should be? Publishing others' private information. Publishing others' private information is missing others. Right, I've got you. Right, good. Thank you for that. I will jump on that now. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm dyslexic, so I really appreciate that. I will jump on that now. If I can find the project. Code of conduct, here we go. Thank you for that. Alright, it's a Gatsby site, so let me just make sure I'm pulling down the right stuff. I'll get that sorted now. Good. Let me just double check something a minute. if we've already got a site running, haven't we, on localhost. Let me get rid of that for a sec. Actually, I should be able to do Gatsby develop. Yes. Thank you for spotting that. I appreciate it. Oh, silly me. I need to do nvm. Use stable. Yes, I want a different port and something like that. Installing. What? Seriously? I think my version is slightly out of date. No, okay. Yeah, it works. It's good when it works. I think I know why this is. I've got a different version of Sharp on the front end to the code of conduct. That's why it was hanging there. So I think yeah, that's fine. There it is. $80.81. Oh, sorry, 80 0. Yeah. Okay. Right. Where is this? Private information is missing. Gotcha. All right. Let's jump on that. I can do that. It doesn't need to be approved by the mods because it's an apostrophe change. It's not a change to the actual, you know, I'm not adding anything apart from a typo fix. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'll bung it onto master. Shouldn't really be doing it like this, to be honest, but should have gone in as a PR. Actually, I could have. This is open source. You could have done a PR, but any excuse to get to have a little breather, a little break from the PHP stuff. Right, that should be there in a couple of minutes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So. There it is. Okay, right, so let me just get rid of that emote. Right, we've got this succeeding now. This is awesome. I really finally am digging this. It was just the way I was setting my mocks, I think. So we ran a run. We did a run, which is great. I think the next step is to actually use that mock handler, because I'm thinking we could use this to actually test the response, because what this essentially does, if I'm reading it right, is that it queues up results. So then, like here, the result object will contain foo and bar, right? So that test now is working fine. It's running and returning this back. So the next thing we need to do is test the response of that. Now, with this particular run, we're going to get a status back, I think. So we'll do test run status. If I remember rightly, if we went back to results, we should get oh great, more magic methods. JSON path search to array. I think. Well, it's going to be whatever is returned from. We can get rid of that. We can get rid of that. We can. It's this. That. So we get the status code, we get the payload, and other bits and pieces. In fact, thinking about this now, we're actually testing it from a different angle. We're actually testing the responses rather than the. So let's tackle that. We can remove all this now, all that scaffolding. So we tested the setting of the clients. We tested the adapter instances. We tested the actual run routine that needs to return a Lambda response. The next thing we need to do is actually test the response itself, which is a kind of a different thing. It's like it's attacking it from a different angle. So I'm going to create not an entity, AWS Lambda adapter test. We're going to create this, but this is a Lambda response test. So we'll get rid of all of those for a second. So this is going to test just reading a comment there. Interesting you say that, because the site that I'm building at the moment is this is the back end to the Gatsby site, so it's not a single page application. I probably due to that rebuild, I've probably busted up. But I'll just show you. This here is the local version of the How to Code Well site, which would be, oh no, that's the beta version. Sorry, I could show you the beta version, I guess. That's the CMS. Actually, let me step through this a minute. We don't need that. Okay, so I'll show you the beta version. Actually, does the local version run? Yes. All right, we'll show you the local version. So this is a site that we've been building in Gatsby. And it's the new How to Code Well site, which I now have in beta, and it's hosted on AWS Amplify. We have a Python Lambda script that I showed earlier, which publishes, which does a deployment, does a release, starts the job release. And what I'm trying to do today, and probably for a week ahead, I would imagine, because this is quite an involved piece of work, is in the CMS, which is here. I would like to have a publish button, or some publish page that when you click publish, it fires off that Lambda script, which I just showed you here, which is it's obviously on Lambda. It's obviously a Lambda function, right? But it will fire off a trigger to this to then publish the Gatsby site. So when I make a change to, say, one of these courses that I've got here, then it will do a redeployment of that site. This is the local version. So it's not a single page app, it's a complete website, and I can click on these things and do, so it's not a single page jobby. However, the code of conduct, which we were just looking at, is more of a single page app. However, it does have links to the other various bits and pieces. I'm kind of using it as a means of, we use Tailwind, so I've got an npm package specifically for the actual UI library for all of this stuff, which kind of helps make the various Gatsby static sites kind of have a consistent look and feel to them. So this is So this is the CMS that we've got in Symfony. We created this in Symfony. This is what we're looking at here. And this has a whole bunch of APIs. So we've got API for categories, courses, course enrollments, tags, users, authentication, tons of stuff. I mean, just have a look at the, and this is something that we've been building for yonks. If I showed you Postman, that's fine. I'm in the right place, yeah. So this is Postman. You can see all the API requests we've got here. So the course API has 16 various different APIs, and if I did a system login, we can do it against staging. That's fine. I don't mind. So that's our bearer token. That gets saved into as a test. It sets that as a system token. So now when I run, say, course, the course getting a course by its ID, for instance, that course doesn't exist. Let's try and get all the free courses. So then that returns JSON schema, which is the JSON schema API sort of specification. So we have attributes, and then we have, don't save that one. So we have attributes, we have relationships, we have and then like the actual relationships themselves. And somewhere down here we would have the includes, I think. But anyway, this gets ran. A ton of these APIs get ran when we do something like this. For instance, this is the local install. And all these tests that you can see on the left-hand side, these are all unit tests, but we have a ton of API tests which test all of these things. So this is now actually making API requests and building all those pages That's weird. Where did my music go? It just stopped. Someone's listening to my music in the house. I've stolen it. All right, so yeah. So now if we go back to localhost, refresh, there we go. I'm on staging on the API, on the actual here, right? So staging -CMS. If I was to change this, say, like we did before, we put in an exclamation mark there. So if I did an update on this, and then if I did a build here, so we can see that it's running in development mode, running against the staging API. And it's using OAuth as a means of authentication, a bearer token. We were using a JWT. In fact, this whole project was in microservices at one point. And then it just got it blew my mind with the amount of services that I needed to keep running. So yeah, that's now done. So we've just put in an exclamation mark there, which means that on here, if we did a refresh, we can see that we have an exclamation there. But of course, on the beta website itself, which is this tab, beta.howtocodewell, if I was to refresh that, we don't. This is because this is obviously sort of live, if that makes sense. But if I was to run the Python code to do the AWS to invoke the AWS Lambda script, so let's go to here, go into system API, not API, sorry, Python Lambda build. So we are now in the Python, this directory here. I can run, there's a makefile in here, I can run Python Lambda function, which essentially it runs this whole Lambda script from this machine. But this script, this function, Lambda function, is actually on AWS. It's been published. It just means that I can run it from here and from remotely. So if I did make run now, oh wait, hang on a minute, import. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it from, I think that needs to be Python 3. And I don't want to change that because it's a different setup to the one on my laptop. If I was to run this, if I was to do this from the AWS console, so if I clicked on, if I went to here and went to services Lambda, and the Lambda script that we're playing with at the moment, which is the portal deploy, and then ran that manually, it's now saying that it's succeeded and the status of that is pending. So, just to recap, what we've done is in the courses, we've put in an exclamation mark, and we've got that back on the local host here, but we don't have that on the beta yet, which is here. However, I've just fired off the Lambda script to deploy the whole site, and we will give that a couple of seconds. Oh, cool! I can see the usage of this. I got some funky graphs and charts. Let's see, if we go to Amplify, AWS. I'm not showing the AWS console on on stream. But I can assure you, we are now in build stage. So whilst that goes on, I'll continue on with the madness of the PHP side of this stuff. But essentially what I want to do is have in the CMS have a means of triggering that Lambda script by a button that we click. Because of course, these static sites, they're great because you can target a specific Git branch to say, look, as soon as there's code merged into this branch, start off a deployment. That's all well and good, but when it actually comes to changing content in a CMS, in a headless CMS like this, you need a mechanism, a way to actually manually push that. Hence the Python Lambda function, which I've created, which uses the Bota 3 import, which is the AWS SDK, and then we do client start job, passing in various different environment variables, and it's the release job, which will do the release, and then it returns JSON back. So it's actually just sort of 3 lines of code, really, to be honest. All the other stuff is a bit fluff. And this just allows me to do this either locally or remotely. That's all. Right, it's still in build. So whilst that's going on, we're going to go back to the PHP. And I've got the kind of like I want to try and test this as much as possible. So that's why we're struggling a bit today, because I was having some issues with mocking in PHP unit. I must say it's been a bit of an interesting ride, jumping between Python, PHP, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. It's been interesting. Yeah, so the problem I had with the microservices was essentially, I mean, in principle, on paper, it was great. I loved it, but essentially, it was just me. It's just me managing this. This is just my little pet project, and I was getting just drowned by the amount of things that I would have to do in order to keep each of the microservices running and updated. And it just, if I had a team of people that I could just say, this developer look after this microservice, this developer look after this microservice. If I was able to have that, then I would certainly consider microservices. But it's just me, so I just got swamped with it all, and I found that I wasn't actually progressing in this project. I was making more problems for myself. Embedded systems in C, nice. Yeah, I would imagine that would be a big change from C to PHP and JavaScript. But I agree with you, it's fun. For aeroplanes. Wow. That sounds super interesting. Let me just double check where this build's gone. That's the problem with there we go, now it's done. Okay, so the test was that on the staging site we put in PHP array with an exclamation mark, right? On local we can see that, right? But on beta, which is, I think it's that tab, we can't. But then I fired off the build, the Lambda script in AWS to actually create a new build. So if I was to refresh this, we now have the exclamation mark because we've now redeployed the whole site. Yeah. So essentially, I just want a button. Let's just do this. But I'm a stickler for when it comes to getting this application tested, so we're having to jump through a lot of hoops for that to happen. And I'm still the Lambda side of this project is quite relatively new, and I'm still in debate whether or not AWS is the best thing for it. And I don't want to couple myself to the AWS service, hence the need for creating the adapters. So we've got the adapter for the actual passing in the actual Lambda client, the concrete Lambda client here, and then having my own run routine, which essentially calls the Invoke. It means that if I needed to swap that out with something else, I just have to change the internals here. And also what I'm doing is not relying on the fact that we actually get a result object back, the AWS result. This is now going inside my Lambda response, which we need to fill out here. So we need to test that side of things. But before I do, I've just realized we've only read 2 pages of this book, so I'm going to just read another page before I do, because I think we've got to a nice little part where the request is tested. I need to deal with the response. So this book, for anybody who's just joined, is the TDD Companion. It's by Scott L. Bain. It's a really good book, and it's changing my whole perception of TDD. And we've just, which page did we do? Oh yeah, we did page 9, so we're on page 10 now. So page 10, which is titled "A Green Test Alone Proves Nothing." Okay, so getting to green is not the goal of TDD. Automated tests pass by default. A test that contains no code at all will register as green. By itself, this is meaningless. No, in TDD, it is observing a red failing test turn green that proves everything. Yes, because you run the test first, it fails, and then once you've created the code, you run the test, and it passes, thus proving that your code works. So the red test proves the validity of the test, that it can fail, that has meaning. Tests need a reason to fail. And this reason reflects the desired behavior of the system. Tests that cannot fail are actually worse than no tests, because they mislead the developers and promote confidence based on false confirmations. Excuse me. The green test proves the production code has been made accurate. I can't say this word, accurate, to the meaning of the test. The code is written to pass the test, and so, sorry, I will read this again in a bit more flow. This is the first time I'm reading this. And so we know that it will forever be covered by the test going forward. Sure, yes. The transition from red to green proves that the test and the production code are connected to each other. This is because we make failing test pass, not by changing the test, but by changing the code. TDD creates, therefore, semantically meaningful test coverage. Nothing else can ensure this. Okay, let me read that page once more. Okay, so a green test alone proves nothing. Getting to green is not the goal of TDD. Automated tests pass by default. A test that contains no code at all will register as green. By itself, this is meaningless. And then, no, in TDD, it is observing a red failing test turn green that proves everything. A red test proves the validity of the test, that it can fail, that has meaning. Tests need tests need a reason to fail, and this reason reflects the desired behavior of the system. Tests that cannot fail are actually worse than no tests because they mislead the developers and promote confidence based on false confirmations. Yeah. Okay. The green test proves the production code has been made accurate to the meaning of the test. The code is written to pass the test, and so we know that it will forever be covered by the test going forward. Yeah, so like seeing all of these tests pass every time I run them. So like let's scroll all the way to the bottom. If I was to I'm in the wrong terminal. If I was to run all the units, so seeing all those pass, 253 of them, instills confidence in me that the code that I'm writing now is not interfering and polluting the code that I've already verified as fixed and tested. You know, it is in itself production ready. You know, because they are tested against the specification that is defined by each of these tests. Yes, so the transition from red to green proves that the test is I'll say that again. The transition from red to green proves that the test and the production code are connected to each other. This is because we make failing tests pass not by changing the test, but by changing the code. Yeah. So you shouldn't be changing your test code just to make your test code work. The problem is that the code itself needs to be changed. TDD creates, therefore, semantically meaningful test coverage. Nothing else can ensure this. Some strong statements in this book. I love it. I love it. I feel like I'm leveling up my knowledge every time I read a page. This book, by the way, the Testing Companion, I'll give you a link to it. I've recently purchased it, and it's one that I'm going to be using quite a bit, I think. So this is the link to that book. How much architecture planning do you do ahead of time when doing TDD? That was always a stumbling block for me. I do as little as I possibly can, because sometimes when I'm experimenting, I'm testing. So sometimes I let the tests tell me what I need to do as I do it. But I must admit, TDD is something that is relatively new to me, right? When I started this this piece of work about the Lambda stuff, when we got to in the test itself, if I went to local history, there was a bunch of somewhere. I had a bunch of comments somewhere. Can't find them now. Meh. Anyway, basically what I did is I created a bunch of pseudocode of how I was actually going to architect and structure the objects. So, for example, I wanted a mechanism to oh, actually, I'm in the wrong file. That's why. Bear with me a second. In units, in AWS, in adapter tests. Yeah, in here. If I went to local history show history. I mean, it was as small as let's just pick one from random. Yeah, I just created a bunch of code just down here, just to sort of explain, to get stuff out of my head. None of this worked. It was just sort of my way of saying, okay, I need a Lambda client, I need a Lambda adapter, I'm going to then run the adapter invoke. The invoke will be running from the client, which I've declared up here. And then at the end of it, I want to just have service deployer and then service deploy. That's my end game, right? So deployer will take the adapter will take the client. And then when I do service deploy, this is actually going to be doing adapter invoke, which now in this case is actually called adapter run. I can't change that because I've removed it. But that was as little as I did. And then I thought, right, now I need to actually write the tests for these specific things. But I'm learning as I go, you know. I didn't, at that particular time, I didn't think I would have to deal with the response. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I didn't, because my brain was on the actual making the request rather than dealing with the response. Now I've got to deal with the response. So, totally different. This is something that I'm slowly wrapping my head around. It's something that I never really appreciated before, and that is the fact that, and it says it's very well documented in here, that testing is more about defining the technical specifications. I'm trying to not misquote. So it's more about defining the technical specifications of an application and then verifying that those specifications have been met. And if you think of it that way, then your tests, whether it being unit tests or what have you, are actually pieces of documentation documenting the specification and the features, which I've only just learned, like in the last few, however long I've been reading this book for. I never really appreciated it was a specification that I was testing. I was thinking I was just testing a feature, and that feature contained all of these things, but actually that feature is defined as a technical specification, which blew my mind when I first thought of it like that. So a lot of the tests that I've created are actually should actually be the names should be changed a lot, I think, because they are actually describing a feature that I'm testing, describing a specification that I'm testing, you know. Anyway. Yeah, definitely agree with that point about the self-documenting code. My problem is this time in which it takes to do this. So I'm a freelancer, right? And I would love every project that I ever do to be TDD, you know, through and through. But you know, as a freelancer, I'm dropped on to projects that I not always have started. You know, it's dropped on to projects where there's already a team, there's already been a full set of features that have already been created, and I'm there as a resource to actually update and upgrade something or other, or what have you. And so I have to beat by their drum. I would love to advocate testing and TDD, but if they're not already doing it, then that's a problem, you know. So I kind of struggle, because it's something that I really like doing, and I can see the benefits of doing it. It's taking me a long time to do it because I'm learning how to do it as I go. Like, for instance, if you watch this stream all the way from the start, you'll know that the majority of this stream was me struggling with mocks, with mocking objects. So there's a massive learning barrier. So this project is probably a project. Well, I can think of a handful of projects that have been well tested that I've been involved in. We're talking like thousands and thousands of tests. But those kind of projects, unfortunately, are few and far between in my line of work, as in from the clients that I've had. Unfortunately, it's just the way it goes, right? Although saying that, I am seeing a big shift recently. Well, in the last, say, 2 years, there's now been a more of a push for having pipelines, deployment pipelines, making code chunks smaller, microservices, and thus having things that are more manageable rather than monoliths. Because where do you start when you want to test a monolith? Where do you start with it? So breaking it up, having smaller code, having smaller microservices, making things a little bit more manageable, limiting the responsibility of the architecture and the code allows for testing to be done or to be adopted better. Yeah, do it. Sneak some in. Sneak some in. Okay. What's the time? 18:21. I'm gonna have to go in about 10 minutes' time to have my my Sunday dinner. So what can I do in 10 minutes? Also, standing up today is killing my back. Enjoy my dinner. Yes, I will. I will. I'm looking. Sunday roasts are always something to look forward to in this house. Definitely. Right. So we were doing. We can work on this for a little bit. Lambda response. That's what we were trying to build, and the Lambda response is basically going to be essentially an adapter really for the response that comes back. If I can find the right thing here, let's handle a list. No, we don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about that. Here we go. That's the result that comes back from Lambda, regardless of what Lambda function you use. And essentially, like I said, these things, these sort of objects here, these classes, sorry, I want these to basically mimic or adapt to this, like a facade, essentially. Which means that it will be less painful when I move, if I move from AWS to something else. So Lambda response, we should do public function get status. Okay, let's write these as tests. That's probably the way forward, right? So test, that should be test response. Status code. So I don't think we need this. What we do need though is a response object. So response equals new Lambda response, and this is going to take a new AWS well, it's going to take a result. Right, let's get rid of all of this for a minute. Don't need that. And essentially I want to say response get status code, and we're doing assert same, and the status code of this is going to be so I don't know, 201 for created. So how do we then, that's the AWS results. Is there a way I can mimic the results? Status code. So if we did, is it capitals? Yeah, status code. That's an integer. So essentially, this is just testing the getter, a getter, really. All right. So let's run. Run them all. Call to run the get status code. So we should go to Lambda response, and we're going to do a public function get status code, and that's going to return an int. And whoops, this is going to do this result get status code, and that's what it's going to return. And I'm going to cast that to an int as well. Okay, there we go, that's passed. Cool. We're going to put this as an interface, so we're going to have a public function get status code, which is going to return an int. Again, if I was to ever change from using AWS, I would just have to implement the Lambda response interface and enforce that we have get status, and change the way this return, whatever this does. All right, so let's just make sure that those changes are in effect. Sweet. So it's a bit sort of a bit boring in the sense that this is just testing getters, but it's verifying that I can run if for instance they changed the result object, which is the AWS object. They changed it so status code wasn't a thing, right? Maybe it was like blah, blah, blah. Then we should get an error. So it's more for me to verify that when I update the SDK and they change something, it's my stuff is actually working. Or I'm actually told where things they've changed things, because my code is telling me that my once stable code has been destroyed because they've gone and updated their SDK, and I didn't read the documentation. All right, so the next thing, right, the next test is going to be very similar to this, and that is the fact that we want to return the function error, which is a string. In fact, we kind of want a getter for each one of these, to be honest. So we got the executed version, the function error, the log result, and the payload. Function error. So that would be something like get error. That would be a good one to return. So we'll get test get error. Just imagine if they changed the that. Right, so get error again. Testing getters and setters, but because of the nature of this, so this is called function error. But imagine if they changed it, function error, and we're gonna say this, something like resource cannot be found or something. So we want to make sure that that is the same. And again, if we were to run this, it would fail because we haven't created that method yet. But again, this is explaining the specification of this interface that I'm playing with. So get error. So get status code. In fact, before I jump on that, what I could do is just create the interface here. So this is public function get error, and this is going to return a string. Thank you. And then from here, I just need to do, because you can see it's red underlined, we just do Shift N, and it's getters. No. Sorry. It's not that. It is implement methods. There we go. Get error. So this is now going to return this results get, and it is function. I want to say it's function error. Function error. And this needs to be cast as a string because this is just a magic method. It's mixed, so I need to change this to be whatever I want it to be. So this is going to be a string. Unfortunately, this is not, or it's null. Oh, okay. Or it could be null. And yet in their documentation, it's a string. So it's not a string or null, it's a string. So, yeah, that's fine. Hey, Technical, thank you for following. And also, Isfled, thank you as well for following. I do appreciate that. Sorry for not sort of paying too much attention on the chat today. I've been struggling with so many different things. I'm wrapping my head around all sorts of stuff. I should rush down and grab my dinner in a second. I'm just playing. So response test, get error. Did we get a test? Did we pass on that? Yeah, boom. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I think we've done quite a bit of work. We still haven't got to the point where what we want to do, but we're getting there very slowly but surely. We're getting there very slowly and surely. Essentially, what we'll end up with is this doing a run. The function name will be the portal deploy, which is the Lambda function that I've called, which is essentially this. This will do run this Python, which will start the job and deploy this website. Boom. So we got a while to get there, but we'll get there in the end. Anyway, thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining today. It's been great, and thank you. I appreciate you being patient with me whilst I'm struggling through and learning how to do testing. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your weekend. I'm going to have a roast dinner. Cheers. Bye-bye. Take care.